Hello everybody and welcome to the darkness here from Sebring International Raceway. It is time for another round of the Radical Esports Cup here on iRacing. You're very welcome to our Friday 2100 GMT coverage of this great series. Myself, Ian Leary, Ron Mounds, and Ramiro Augustin Cisneros bringing you the coverage as always. Good to be back alongside you, Ron. This is going to be something a little bit different. Not sure if we've seen darkness this season yet. You've been here for all of the rounds, but this does give a really different feel to the different rounds that we've had so far.
You know, it does feel quite ominous, but it also feels quite fitting as we get to the end of this season here in iRacing and also get to the end of the summer here on the East Coast of the U.S., where, of course, Sebring is. It feels fitting that we're running under the lights here. This is the first time that we've seen a dark race here for the Radical Esports Cup at Sebring in quite some time. I believe it was Season 3 or Season 4 of 2023, the last time that we saw this series run this kind of event. I remember that race many, many moons ago being a bit of a hectic one, but around this track, these SR10s put on some absolutely fantastic racing. So as we get into the final 3 rounds of what's been a very hotly contested championship, I expect the same great racing action that we usually get week in and week out.
Similar feel to these last circuits, really. Suzuka, Fuji, Sebring, Interlagos, Hockenheim, all rounding out the season. I guess maybe this is the only one where it's a little bit different. The other 4 of those 5 are proper Grand Prix circuits that are used around the world. This a bit less so, a bit more of an American-style feel to this one. And, of course, its uniqueness as well, but a similar feel, really, to some of those other circuits. And one noticeable thing changing from last week is just how much closer this championship race is. Going into last week, James Barry had over 200 points over Christoph Lipp. Now he's only got 102, and that is a big, big change. Andre Castro is there as well. He's only 165 back, with Sebastian Lipp probably too far away, although the battle for fourth will be interesting with Paki Caruso, Heinz Braun not too far behind, I should say. Havok Gullikson, George Gonzaga, Sully Ratnan and Rafa Blanco round out the top 10 here. Again, so difficult for us to work out night to night, Ron, especially when we're here, just what the championship picture is looking like. But we always notice the changes, the ups and the downs from last time we were here. And the gap last week, 231 points. I might have even said the championship's over. I'm going to regret that if I did say that, because it's only 102 points now. And who knows what it's going to look like by the time we turn up next week.
Commentators jinx strikes again, but no, James Barry has put together a pretty much flawless season up to this point. The wins that he has gotten, though, haven't come from these 2100 GMT broadcasted races here on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing YouTube channel. They've been in the week. He has been consistent throughout this season, but at the same time, the driver who is chasing him down at the moment for that championship, he may not have the same level of consistency that James Barry has had, but he has had the wins to boot. Christoph Lipp won 3 in a row from the Nürburgring for week number 6 through to Zolder the week following that, and then Suzuka the week after that. He nearly won the race at Fuji last time out as well. Christoph Lipp, a very quick racer behind the wheel of these Radical SR10s, the 2024 Radical Sim Racing World Finals champion. So going up against those two, you got Lipp, the reigning World Finals champion, and Barry, who has 4 official series championships here in these Radical SR10s. He's a quick racer, both of them are, and now that we're in this qualifying session, and what I have to say, it is an old school American sports car track, despite the fact it was technically the first ever road course to host a round of the Formula One World Championship here in the United States. This track is synonymous with sports car racing, whether it be on the amateur level with the SCCA or whether it be with the one I think is one of the best sports car events of the calendar year in the Sebring 12. This track is a sports car racing track at the core of it, so in these SR10s, I expect these racers are going to be tested for sure, but they're also going to put on a really good race. For now, though, they're focused on qualifying, trying to set the best time they can, because here around this track, that may have a bit more importance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to imagine, isn't it, Formula One racing around here, and certainly something that wouldn't happen anymore, but this is the kind of car you're likely to see around here, and good to have it here tonight. Of course, in this race, over the line for Christoph Lipp, he will just slot in behind Castro and actually Franco Sanchez-Buckley, who's third at the moment. James Barry currently setting the pace in this qualifying session with a 1:55.0. Most of these races this season, by the way, have taken place in the very early morning, so This is a track temperature, therefore, very low, but this is a real change to that, as you can see, as Andre Castro goes a little bit quicker with his next lap time. Paki Caruso up to third place as well. I wonder if James Barry has got anything left to respond with here, because that's suddenly quite a big gap opening in front of the previous pole sitter. And no, he doesn't improve with that, or not enough anyway, doesn't improve enough with that latest lap time.
As we see this qualifying session continue to develop with more drivers that we like to see week in and week out putting in some quick times. That's Havard Gullickson jumping up into second. We just followed Toshihiro Kawasaki not terribly long ago, the driver of the number 13 car, jumping his way up into P4 right in the dying breaths of this qualifying session. A reminder to those tuning into the series for the very first time, here in these officials, it's an 8-minute long solo session. These racers have the track all to their lonesome with 2 laps allotted to them to try and get the job done. I believe Christoph Lipp, who we're following right now, he's on his last lap here, and he'll just have just enough time to be able to cross that line and set in one more time with about 50 seconds left on the clock. Andre Castro, your winner last time out in that absolutely stunning race at Fuji. It was heavily foggy as well, though, so we didn't get to see too much of the action just because it was obscured through the cloud cover. But Castro certainly rose to the top there. But Christoph Lipp looking to rise his way up in this qualifying session, and maybe one race out of a whole week of racing action. But if Christoph Lipp can do well in this race, he'll be hitting the ground running with some momentum in the final 2 weeks.
That's going to be close. Christoph Lipp does get the pole. 17 thousandths of a second. I thought it would be close with Castro, and in the end it's enough. He is having a fantastic few weeks, is Christoph Lipp. He's coming into some right form at the moment across the board in these Radical SR10s, and he's underscored that with pole position, it looks like, here at the Sebring round of this championship. A great lap to the end of this session, and he takes pole ahead of Andre Castro by the barest of margins in the end. 17 thousandths, and they share the front row with Havard Gullickson and James Barry then on row 2. It's Toshihiro Kawasaki then in 5th place ahead of Simon Sykes, who then lines up in 6th position. Further back, we've got Paki Caruso and Sully Reitinen, with Frankie Sanchez-Buckley actually losing quite a few positions towards the end. That's dropped to 9th. Head to Dennis Kirkopoulos. Then it's Rafa Blanco and Jarek Dunkovic in 12th place. Getting towards the back end of 1 second off of pole now with Oscar Pesavento, Feinsbrunn and George Gonzaga. Then round out the top 15 with Kamandre Bjorklund over a second off pole. Ben Ford and Cattell Larson are then on row 9. With 19th place for Pepe Fuentes, who didn't really get a representative lap in. So 19 drivers in the field, some of whom we haven't seen very much of this season, but a very, very close session. Is Christoph Lipp underscoring what form he's in at the moment.
Yeah, Christoph Lipp peaking at the right time. As soon as we got to that halfway mark of this season, he has turned up the wick big time. And I gotta wonder what his thought process is heading off into the final few weeks of this championship. Got some good tracks coming up. Christoph Lipp, he is very much so going to be in it to win it when it comes to that official series championship here in season 3 of 2025 here on iRacing. Just a quick look at the track temperatures before we head off into this race. Relative humidity rather high at 88%. Ambient temperatures at 78 Fahrenheit and track temperatures at 80. So not the highest in the world, not the coolest in the world either, despite it being night. I remember the last time we ran this, it was rather cold, but that's not going to be the case here today.
Certainly isn't. As the sun goes down at Sebring, it's time to go racing, and a good start in the background as they already fan out 3 and 4 wide. They're battling behind Christoph Lipp, who's launched off the start very quickly. Andre Castro's going backwards here. He's already demoted to 4th by turn. It might even be further down the field as they go through the corner itself. Down on the brake turn 3. He's going to be under severe pressure here. Here they go into the real tight sections now of the opening part of this racetrack. Christoph Lipp being allowed to get a big lead now as a result of that opening exchange, with Andre Castro really going nowhere off the initial start. It looks like he has regained some of those places again, though, in the darkness on the way towards turn number 3. He's done a very good job if that is the case, and he has got up to 2nd place. 3 wide meantime in the background. Goodness me, Paki Caruso there had to keep his wits about him as he looked left and right. Oh! Off in the background, Buckley, it looks like, has gone off, and Feinsbrunn dropping through the field very quickly as well.
Yeah, some SR10s getting turned into lawnmowers as they head their way at the hairpin. Just want to touch these SR10s. So tough to try and nail that jump off the line. Standing start says that's a big one, heading down to Cunningham of 10.
Reitinen, Gonzaga and Feinsbrunn again, at least 3 of them involved. That was quite a large crash. We don't see too many of those. These are top split, top drivers. But that is unusual. Very much so unusual. As Ava Gullikson, that we focus in on here, breaking away with the rest. Lip leads ahead of Castro, then Gullikson and Caruso, who is then in 4th place. And then there's that break in the field. That's where James Barry is, losing points again here to Christoph Lipp, who is really gaining on him now in the overall championship. I go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm not sure if my microphone got picked up there, or if that was a squeak from our producer with the drama that we've had at the start of this race. It's been a hectic one, to be sure, and that drama hang down to turn number 10. That had to have been one racer massively misjudging the brakes, and that's another thing about these cars. The braking zone's probably the most treacherous spot here at Sebring, and hang down to Cunningham of turn number 10 can really catch you as. Look at that contact being made around a bowling, and holy cow, nothing that George Gonzaga could have done there as cars came barreling in and ensued. Harvard Gullikson also had a moment. I think Simon Sykes had a moment of his own heading off through Fangio. He got clipped himself.
Oh, how did he get avoided after his spin there? I've got no idea. But look at this. Heinz-Braun's sort of innocent called up in that. I think, is it Reitinen who gets sort of served across? Yeah. So there's the contact. There's one. He comes back again, and there's two. Reitinen gets 2 goes, and he smashed it straight into Gonzaga. He can't do anything. Reitinen was a completely innocent bystander. That he was using it as a bowling ball there to take down the pins of George Gonzaga and Heinz Braun.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. They head their way off into the braking zone of turn number 10. It was some squabbling going on right alongside him involving Kim Andre Björklund and Heinz Braun, and unfortunately he just got shown the boot heading down in there. A tough moment, to be sure. Gonna take Braun and George Gonzaga out of contention very early on into this race, as I believe Dennis Kyriakopoulos also having a moment as well in the number 16 car. He's dropping down like an anvil push out of a helicopter, now barely clinging onto a spot inside the top 15 as it stands right towards the end of the second lap of this race. Up at the front, though, despite having that rather poor start, Andre Castro has closed up that gap. That's the thing with Sebring, as tight and twisty and technical of a racetrack this is. You still got those long, flat-out blasts that'll keep this field packed in like sardines.
Well, that's a very annoying curve there on the way towards Tower Corner, and if you get hooked on it just a little bit too much, you'll go straight off, and that's what Dennis Kyriakopoulos managed to do there through the right-hander. Christoph Lipp, though, has lost the lead to Andre Castro, meantime, in live pictures. It's not a circuit you want to wait around. We've seen in recent weeks that waiting around has been the order of the day, but not this week. It's going to be a battle between Castro and Lipp for track position and eventually for the race win as well. And Havok Gullikson's going to join them, it looks like, as well. This is a 3-way battle for the lead now, with a new leader, Andre Castro, for the first time.
And Andre Castro looking to get his 3rd win here in this season. He's had a good one up to this point. Of course, grabbed the win last time out at Fuji. He won earlier on this season at Spa. And when you think of tracks that these SR10s run on season after season, I personally think of Spa, and I also think of Sebring as well. So Andre Castro, the American, a very talented racer in his own regard, both in the sim and in real life, looking to try and impress in this race, but he's got 2 of the best in these SR10s right behind him as well. Christoph Lipp gunning for the official series championship. Havard Gullikson, your season 1 champion here in 2025, looking to return to form. It's not been a fantastic season up to this point for Havard Gullikson. He won round number 2 at Watkins Glen, but ever since then he's never really been able to get into top gear up to this point. But the driver, the number 4, running in a good spot as it stands right now, and if he plays his cards right in the last 10 laps of this still very early on race, he could very well find himself in that catbird seat to win.
Is on board with Rafa Blanco as they power through the night here at Sebring. It is night now, pretty much, at 20 to 9 in sim. So this time of year, sun very much setting in Florida as Castro weaves around all over the place, not necessarily to defend track position, but to break the slipstream to Christoph Lipp, who didn't get anywhere near as close to Castro as Castro did to him last lap. They get very close to the wall as always, out of Sunset Bend and onto the start-finish line again. A group of 8 effectively in the slipstream of one another over the line at the end of 3 laps. This could be an absolute classic between these two if this continues on. It's just the sort of perfect mix, I think, in these cars, Sebring, to needing track position, but it's possible to overtake, but also not going too far, like maybe we saw a little bit of last week at Fuji, where there's sort of no point in overtaking towards the end. That's not the case either here at Sebring. It's that perfect balance between the two.
Yeah, this track is absolutely amazing for these SR10s. I got the opportunity to run in one of these broadcasted races a little over a year and a half ago at this point. I managed to get my way into Top Split. I did an interview as I was at there on the racetrack, and I can tell you that this track and car combination is super, super fun. Even though these SR10s don't really like a lot of the stuff that you have to do to run well around here, running over bumps, managing braking zones, going up to speed, getting on the power while you're still turning. That's a lot of what this car does not want to do, but here at Sebring it still works, as that's Christoph Lipp going off the track into Tower Bend. That's a huge moment for your championship leader. Through goes James Berry, and through goes Toshihiro Kawasaki as well. Christoph Lipp dropping down to 8th as a result of that moment. Disaster for him.
Well, make a note, because Christoph Lipp makes an error. You don't see that very often at all. I said earlier on that Tower Corner's very, very tricky, but even Christoph Lipp coming unstuck. It's really an unforced error as well. He's looking to get in the mirrors of Castro. He just goes straight on here. I can't really understand how he's managed that. He just goes straight on and trying to get into the head of Andre Castro. He's seen himself straight off the road, and that is a collector's item down into Tower Corner.
What I think happened right there is a mix of two things. One, target fixation, and two, the fact these SR10s heading down into Tower Bend, there is only one way to go around there, and that is not being scared. If you're a little bit scared through there, if your car's a little bit scared as well, you are going to be done for. I can attest that myself. Tower Bend, turn number 13 around this track, it is a brutal ride. You've got a curved braking zone. You got a very bumpy area of the track as well. The asphalt on many parts of this track, but especially turn number 13, about as patchy as my face when I was 14, so it's not a comfortable ride in these aero-sensitive SR10s where the weight transfer, if you get that a little bit awry, you can be in for a world of hurt. But that's still a huge moment for Christoph Lipp. It is going to be music to the ears of James Berry, but now I gotta wonder how this battle up at the front will shake out. Because of that, there has been a bit of a gap pulling out between your front two of Castro and Gullickson and your P3 runner of Paki Caruso. If Caruso and James Berry start to work together as pseudo teammates, we could see them close up that gap. It is not an insurmountable gap, but it will require a little bit of pseudo teamwork for those two non-team cars to try and work together.
You're right, it's an annoying gap, really. Not quite a proper gap that we can really call the gap, but you know, it's certainly significant. So that'll be annoying them for the next couple of laps, it looks like, as Caruso tries to keep that below a second through the chicane at the end of the lap. Wonder whether he'll be happy to let Barry go through in the name of that or not. Bit of weaving going on up in front here. Castro desperate to break the slipstream here, but he still can't do it. He's doing his best to at least weave and keep Gullickson out of his toe for as much longer, and that's a bit wide from Castro. Gullickson closes in on the low side, and here we go with Zevento, Larson, Dunkovic and Fuentes. All four of them pretty much side by side there. Larson making big progress, moving up to 11th place. Fuentes as well. I think Fuentes started 19th as they all weave around, duck and weave on the way towards the first corner again. Larson again on the outside. He is not quite able to do it, and he'll duck back to the inside, will he? Well, it's going to be Fuentes instead. Oh, he defends to Larson. Goodness me, this is a very lively group for for 10th place rather.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with how hard they are battling, you'd think this would be a battle for the win, but no, these racers squabbling up for one spot alone inside the top 10. Oscar Prezavento holding on to that as it stands right now, but here comes Kettle Larson on the outside line, heading down into the hairpin, down into the braking zone. They go through the turn, and that's Prezavento holding on to that. Larson with that screwed up line. He's now got to be chopped liver as here comes Pepe Fuentes looking to try and get that move done through Fangio. They go into Cunningham of turn number 10. 10. This is where the drama went on at the very start of this race, but there it goes Fuentes to jump his way up into P11. Kendall Larson now holding on to P12. Jared Dunkovich, the last of the cars in this pack. Dunkovich, a top running racer in the Radical Americas Championship as well, that he can catch this upcoming Sunday as well here on RaceSpotTV. But as we go from that battle to this one for the final podium spot, I think that pseudo teammate work not going to come to fruition. These racers are saying, you know what, screw battling for the win. We're just going to throw haymakers at each other and see who ends up with a bloody nose first.
Well, Kawasaki certainly closest to anybody here. James Barry under the pressure here. He's been so consistent in these 2100 GMT races. He's got to take points from Lip here tonight. Oh, and that's well, not dangerous, sorry, but a late weave there from Barry into the final corner. And that was a bit wide from Caruso. Is it going to allow Barry close enough to actually get through here? Kawasaki again pretty close as well as he comes towards turn number 1, but turn 1 is not a braking zone at all, really. Even less than Sunset Bend is. Through the left-hander they go. We're about to hit halfway as we get halfway around this lap. Is Barry going to get past Caruso here? On the way to turn 3 again? No. This is turning out to be very, very tricky indeed for James Barry, who's stuck at the front of this very large group.
So James Barry at this point, he's got to try and find any way in the book to get past Packy Caruso. Scenes of what we saw a couple of weeks ago in this series at Suzuka, where it was a massive pack, a huge hornet's nest, battling for the final podium spots. Caruso runs deep down to the hairpin. Barry gonna swap back and tow it. Look at that! Holy cow! Kawasaki nearly dirt tracking it, trying to get past Rafa Blanco. Gonna pick up the pieces, say thank you very much, I'll take this. This is absolutely terrifying for these racers. Look at that, a pack of SR10-7, and you could all put them under the same blanket.
Oh. Barry is going to be re-overtaken by Caruso. Well done, Packy Caruso, on that one, because it looked like he was going to go backwards very quickly, but he's retaken the place from Barry, and that's the way to stop that momentum from getting on top of you and losing places so many in one go. You've got to take a place back immediately. Oh, and Barry's under pressure now of the same thing happening to him. Buckley down the inside, and he's pitched up wide now. Barry's in big danger now. He defends from Blanco into Le Mans corner, but this is big danger now for him. Kawasaki is queued in behind. Both Christoph and Sebastian Lipp are in there as well. Barry has got to be on the defensive here from Blanco. Blanco's on the inside. He's got the overlap now as he comes down the Ormond Straight. Goodness me, Barry on the outside line, and Rafa Blanco comes through. This is quite incredible now. James Barry is seeing this race fall apart. He was third earlier this lap. Now he's down to 6th, although he races off the final corner. He gets back in front of Blanco again, excuse me. Kawasaki and Lipp are looking left and right to follow through into turn number 1. They're not going to manage it, but goodness me, Blanco's under pressure here. Toshihiro Kawasaki again goes to the outside. Super late on the brakes. Can he stay there? No. Christoph Lipp tries to get through. He can't either. This is an incredible battle between these guys.
That was absolute insanity on that last lap. Well done to all of them for keeping it clean, and well done to Packy Caruso for picking his way through the smoke and the drama at a self-inflicted error heading down to the hairpin. He doesn't replicate it this time by, although he's certainly slow on exit. Look at Franco Sanchez. He's right there in the coattails, closing that gap now only 1/10 of a second. Those two gonna squabble up. Here comes Franco Sanchez fighting back for that P3 spot. On the outside of 10 he's gonna go. Caruso gonna clear him. Heading down into the turn, he gets a better run through it. James Barry also there to pounce as well. For James Barry, this is a double-edged sword. You got a gap in the championship, although it's not a lot, as it looks like he's got to try to pick up the pieces from Franco Sanchez, who runs wide through turn number 13. No, Sanchez gets the run heading down into Le Mans. He'll hold on to P4 as it stands right now, but for James Barry, you got two different ends of that thought process at this point of the race. Do you try and force this issue? Do you try and make up some spots and get your way back up onto the podium? You've got a gap right now, but it's not a lot. You want to build it a little bit as we get towards the end of the season. James Barry has that going on his head, but he also realizes that if he throws too much at this and it ends poorly, look at Christoph Lipp. He's right there at the tail end of this pack, slotted in 8th as it stands right now. If a few things go well for Christoph Lipp and a few things go bad for James Barry, we could see another swapperoo go on between those racers as well. Both of our championship contenders not really having the best of evenings here at Sebring.
Ooh. Blanco's been shoved into the barriers there. Kawasaki drove into him on the front straight, and Blanco's lost his rear wing. Oh my goodness, Kawasaki's great run through the field comes to an end as well. That is such a shame to see the big group end that way, because it was great racing without contact on the most part as well. But it's fallen apart here. That is a real shame for all involved. And as I say, in live pictures, it looked to me like Kawasaki drove into Blanco, I'm afraid. Let's see how it happened. Into turn one. I don't know what Kawasaki's doing, I'm afraid. I don't know what he's doing. He seems to drive straight into Rafa Blanco there for me.
Yeah, I gotta imagine he was trying to get the drift from Rafa Blanco, but misjudged it horrendously heading down that start-finish straightaway. Tough moment for the both of them. Rafa Blanco certainly getting the short end of the stick there. Your reigning champion here in the Radical Esports Cup. He has not had any luck at all throughout this season, and it continues on here for week number 10 at Sebring. Tough stuff for Blanco. He's now down to P17. I gotta imagine that's what happened here. As we take a look at this, I think he maybe potentially thought, it looks pretty bad there. That was a huge miscalculation at best for Kawasaki.
Yeah, I think that might be the explanation, because the only other explanation would be someone intensely driving into him. But A, I don't think he would do that, and B, I don't see any reason why he would be so annoyed to let him to do that either. So I think you're probably right. That's just a big miscalculation there. And it is dark, even on the front straight, so there's a bit of a mitigating factor there, but I'm afraid that that doesn't look too good on the front straight there, and that is a real shame, because it's split up the group now. There's still 3 up ahead there, Caruso, Barry and Buckley, and you imagine Christoph Lipp and Sebastian Lipp will be there by the end of the race too, because these 3 are not going to be deterred by that last moment into the barrier. Barry on the outside of Caruso, can't get through here, he's still trying.
And I think we're going to start to see James Berry maybe take a bit more risk than we usually would. James Berry, he's always a calm, cool, and collected customer. Our colleague here at RaceSpotTV has always called our RaceSpotTV colleague Jared Gregory always calls James Berry the professor. He is always so precise about what he does in these races. He calculates the risk. I think with that gap growing a little bit between these 3 on screen right now and the 2 Lipp brothers right behind, I think he may decide to be a little bit more on the aggressive end as they're 3 wide, heading their way down into turn number 10. Franco Sanchez nearly ended up on the grass on the inside there before he even thought about heading into the braking zone there. These racers, I don't know what's in the air here in Florida, whether or not they're channeling their inner Florida man or what, but this is madness that we're seeing here under the lights.
Oh, Barry's going the inside of Bishop. That is a high-speed left-hander. Flat out, of course, in the SR10s, but still very close side by side, racing between the 2. The Lipp brothers are now with them because of this huge battle through the Le Mans chicane now and out onto the Ullman straight. They're on top of each other as they come out of this corner. Barry will pull to the outside of Caruso. No, he gets right in the back of him, and he's being sandwiched now. Oh, Buckley's pushing him down the straight. This can only end badly. Oh, my word, it so nearly did. It so nearly did. Caruso had a huge swapper on there, and he just about saved it in towards Sunset Bend. He keeps 3rd place somehow. This is one of the defenses of the season we've seen across the 2100 GMT races this season. Now finally he's let the outside go into turn 1. He's going to pull just in front of Buckley, or is he? Buckley switches to the inside. Barry will have the opportunity on the exit as a result to go down the inside at turn 3. Maybe this is the moment that Caruso needs to pull away with that 3rd place. No, it won't be, because Barry gets the place without side-by-side racing, and somehow they all survive.
And now that pack that was broken up is vacuum sealed together once again. Packy Caruso, though, doing a fantastic job. A mighty defensive drive from the driver of the number 12 machine. He's still got a race on his hands with a handful of laps left to go. He holds on to P3 at least for now, but that P3 spot would be music to the ears of James Berry, Christoph Lipp, and Sebastian, the 2 teammates, the 2 brothers who have 4 wins between them up to this point in the championship. Gonna look to try and get a good result here tonight as they're working right in tow. That's another thing to raise about that championship battle. The two and their teammates of James Berry and Christoph Lipp are the ones contending for it at the end of the season. That inert stable, absolute powerhouses here in the world of Radical SR10 racing on the iRacing platform. But at this point, screw teammates. This is a battle of driver versus driver, and there are 5 of them still covered by nothing. That gap is minuscule between Caruso and Berry as they head their way through Le Mans, about to head their way onto the Ullman straightaway, getting into the dying breaths of this race as well. Andre Castro holds onto the race lead. Those two up at the front have basically been in witness protection as we've been looking at this battle for third.
Barry didn't get a very good exit out of Le Mans corner, and again he's under pressure, and Caruso's going to try and keep them side by side if he can. Franco Sanchez-Buckley to the outside line now through Sunset Bend. It's a long way round, but he's managing it for the moment. He's holding his own, and Barry's just separating him out there for the moment as they all get close to the wall again. Now who's going to get the slipstream? It's going to be Barry because he got the worst exit out of the Sunset Bend. Now the tide starts to turn. He gets more momentum. He's on the outside at turn 1 though, and surely Buckley's going to have the place. Is he clear? Yes, just about. And Christoph Lipp tries to strike. He's got to try and get through on James Barry. There's no space there. And Barry pulls in front of him to say so. An ultimate lap of the race. They are still absolutely going at this. And there's 4 drivers behind, by the way, all catching these guys.
I am not sure if my vocal cords and my heart would be able to take it if this 5-car battle turns into a 9-car battle. I don't believe it will with how small of an amount of time is left here in this race. But the fact it's a 5-car battle that we've got for the final podium spot involving both of our championship rivals is absolute insanity. Shows you the great racing that we have week in and week out here in the Radical Esports Cup. I am not really sure what else I can say in terms of subjective commentary. The racing up to this point, Ewan, has just spoken for itself. It is madness in the battle for third. It's madness behind. We have got battles all throughout this field, but the battle up the front may potentially be cool. It has been cool for quite some time. That or Havard Gullickson in P2 is waiting to pounce on Andre Castro. Has pretty much led lights a flag, looking to become only the 2nd driver this season to get multiple wins, and only the 2nd driver in the process as well. Actually, already has multiple wins. My apologies. Looking to be the 2nd driver to get back-to-back wins here in this season. We take a look at Sebastian Lipp smacking the outside wall coming out of the final turn. Very easy mistake to make.
Thought he did. I thought someone did, but I didn't realise Sebastian Lipp had actually made contact there as Caruso again defends into Sunset Bend. We are going to get the white flag here, by the way. And Andre Castro should win this race. He's dominated, really, ever since he overtook Christoph Lipp and pressured him into a rare mistake at Tower Corner. Now Lipp's trying to atone for that on the last lap here. He's been patient so far, but now he's going to try and take Barry, and Buckley's going to go to the inside as well. They're all going for this on the last lap of the race. Into turn 1. Lipp couldn't get down the inside. Neither could Franco Sanchez-Buckley. Caruso went off the road in his defence there, but he still keeps 3rd place.
I am not sure how Packy Caruso has been able to hold on to that P3 after the amount of assault that he's had thrown his way all throughout this race. Packy Caruso has always been able to withstand these challenges. I feel like it may be a losing battle, though, as Franco Sanchez-Buckley looking down the inside into the hairpin, not close enough. I wonder if Packy Caruso is going to be able to hold on to this 3rd, just because those racers behind are more preoccupied on who's going to finish behind Caruso instead of trying to get in front of Caruso.
This is going to be sewn up for 3rd if it carries on, because Caruso is not side by side. The other guys are. Barry's wide. Christoph Lipp's alongside him. This is going to allow him to get some gap here. Packy Caruso, as he gets away with 3rd place in the background. Barry and oh, look at that. He just chops in front of Lipp. He says, "You're not taking this place. I can't afford to lose many more points to you, to be honest." And so he just chops the nose off there, and he keeps 5th position. A remarkable race behind, and for some of it, Andre Castro was involved, but he overtook Christoph Lipp quite early on in this race, and he never looked back from then. He has taken the white flag with a gap over Gullickson, who stayed with him for quite a long time as well. But Andre Castro is going to take victory here, and he will cement that top 3 position, which he holds now in the Radical Esports Cup Championship in Season 3 of 2025. Castro wins at Sebring in the darkness by nearly 2 seconds in the end. Who's going to finish on the podium with him, along with Gullickson? Is it going to be Caruso? It will be. He flashes the lights to acknowledge an achievement here. A great bit of defending. defending. Perhaps the greatest bit of defending we've seen in these broadcasted races this season. He holds on to third place despite an onslaught from drivers behind.
Pachy Caruso, I'm not sure whether or not he had it engineered by somebody, if he got it fresh out of the factory like that. It is the widest SR10 in the world, though, and Pachy Caruso is able to drive that thing to a P3, a defensive masterclass. I got to imagine that Pachy Caruso's resting heart rate after this race probably going to be a steady click of 275, because, I mean, he probably had the most stressful race out of anybody. There's no question or shadow of a doubt about it. Even the championship rivals behind probably had it a bit more stress-free than Caruso did, having to withstand so many challenges from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered.
I'll say it's Castro, Gullikson and Caruso on the podium. Those who missed out on that podium in the end in that group include Franco Sanchez-Buckley, who finished 4th, ahead of James Barry, who just beat his championship rival Christoph Lipp to 5th. Sebastian Lipp, his brother, was 7th, with Pepe Fuentes winning that group for 8th place. If they were a bit more organised, they could have got in that battle for 3rd. Oscar Pesavento was overtaken on the last lap for that place, with Katil Larsen rounding out the top 10 in this one. 11th place went to Jarek Dunkovic in the end. Kim-Andre Bjorklund was in the next group ahead of Toshihiro Kawasaki, who still got back to battle away with those guys despite his crash on the front straight. Simon Sykes was also in that group with Dennis Kirkopoulos and Ben Ford as well. Sully Retinen recovered from his early trouble, as did Rafa Blanco. They finished on the lead lap. George Gonzaga was 1 down, Heinz Braun 2 down. All of them, especially down the bottom there, bottom 8 also, all had trouble over the course of that race. At some stage anyway. Looks like Andre Castro is indeed there waiting for us, so we can chat to our race winner now. Andre, congratulations on taking the race victory here in the 2100 GMT split race. I mean, it was a lot quieter for you, I've got to say, than it was for some of the others behind, but you did have to do some racing, especially early on. Tell us about those early laps, especially as you were racing with Christoph Lipp before he made the error, of course.
Yeah, thanks, Ewan. I mean, I just got to get my starts figured out, because they always are beating me these days on the starts. But yeah, I fell back from 2nd to 4th, and then was back up to 2nd by by the hairpin. And after that, yeah, just I wasn't panicking too hard. I kind of knew I was the fastest, because I did a race a couple hours ago as well. And you know, as the tires got older, I just kind of felt more and more in tune with the car. It kind of just felt like a extension of my body, more or less. And those are the kind of feelings that that you love in real life, that you try to replicate on the sim. And when you're able to do it, it feels just as good, pretty much. So yeah, it was good. I mean, just no complaints. Just felt like kept the tires in the car and got into a really good rhythm. And yeah, I think Christoph just outbraked himself there, which is kind of a rare mistake. I wasn't expecting it, and then Havard was pushing me a bit, but yeah, in the end it was felt all under control, so it was good.
You mentioned the starts there. What is it that you can put your finger on that the others are able to get that you're not? Because it's clearly something that's on your mind a little bit on the start of these races.
Yeah, if I knew, maybe I could. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they're going to share their secrets with me, but I think it's just like maybe early phase wheel spin, and then I see myself getting beat off the first phase of the start, and I kind of try to hustle it more after that, or like put the clutch out, and then I get even more wheel spin, or maybe I just have too much clutch in. I don't really know, but yeah, we're lucky enough to have pace to where it didn't really matter in the end. And I don't know. I guess I got to practice starts a bit this coming week and try to fix them for next time.
It's a complicated thing to do, starting quickly anyway. So congratulations on getting back to the front and winning this race tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Yeah, thanks you, and thanks Ron and Ramiro, and thanks for another great broadcast.
Thanks very much, Andre Castro, our winner here tonight from Sebring, ahead of Havard Gullikson, who put up a fight there towards the end, as Andre said. Havard, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Second place for you tonight. How are you feeling at the end of that one? Was that the maximum you could have gotten out of that race?
Yeah, I think so. Andre was very fast, and I don't like this track, so I was happy as long as I could keep up. But yeah, 3 laps before the end, the tires was starting to go, and I was thinking more about saving my second place than taking first place, and I did some small mistakes, and he got out of the draft, and yeah, then it was done.
a lot of the more casual sim racers of the world to be wondering how you can get through a week still driving as well as you have been, even despite not liking Sebring. How are you getting through a week like this if you don't like the circuit very much?
No, it's just to force yourself into the rig and try to make some practice laps and be a little prepared. But yeah, this track is it's a nice track, but it's hard to get a nice flow, and it's so easy to make some mistakes, and especially the front tires, they overheat and you struggle with the turn in, and it's work all race.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats on getting through that and finishing second here tonight at Sebring, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks very much. That is Havoc Gullikson in second place tonight from Sebring. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get Paki Caruso in the interview room waiting for us tonight, which is a real shame because he was the star of the show, I think you'd say, Ron, here tonight in the dark at Sebring. Fending for third place all the way throughout was an extraordinary job from him.
Yeah, Paki Caruso putting in an incredible performance in an incredible race at Sebring as well. You know, that race at Suzuka we had a couple of weeks ago was a barn burner. I feel like Sebring may have absolutely just topped it. It is such a good track in these SR10s, puts on some great racing. I usually wouldn't bring this up. However, it got brought to our attention in the official chat here on the Radical Sim Racing Discord server. In the split below this one, there's a photo finish with 83 thousandths of a second being the gap at the line between first and second. So if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about these cars at this track and what brilliant racing action could come out of it, I really don't know what would. That was absolutely amazing. It's been a great season up to this point. We're going to wrap it up in 2 weeks time. But man, that race at Sebring here today may have been the best SR10 race I've gotten to cover in my entire time doing them. That was brilliant.
Just imagine what would have happened to us if we had seen an 83,000th finish later on tonight. But anyway, that's for another day, maybe. Maybe next week, Interlagos for the 2100 GMT split of racing. We'll be live on the 29th of August, of course. Make sure you join us, same time, same place, on either the RaceSpotTV or iRacing YouTube channels, where we are live every week. We are looking forward to welcoming you back again, of course. If you can't wait until then for more Radical SR10 racing, then join us in the Radical Sim Racing Americas Championship. It is a little bit later for those of you in Europe, but if you're up late in Europe, or indeed if you're on the Western Hemisphere of the world, then join us in the evening. We'll be bringing you more racing from Sebring. Don't think in the dark, but we will be bringing you the same action, which is going to be fantastic over the course of an hour. It would start in about 3 hours' time on Sunday, if you want to join us for that. But either way, I've been Ian O'Leary alongside Rob Miles. Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this broadcast here tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again in 1 week's time, back in this slot at Interlagos. It's goodbye for now.